Hi foodies, let's get started on this delicious breakfast. The first thing I do is my fried dumpling dough. And in this bowl here, well, in the sieve, I have some all-purpose flour, salt, and baking powder, and I just sifted that to get some air into the mixture. And remember that this is not the traditional way of making fried dumpling, all right? This is just how I like to make it. So I just added some sugar, which is optional, of course. Whisk everything together. And then the next step is to add butter. As I said before, you do not have to add butter, but this is how I like to make it. All right. So I have the butter cut up into some small pieces and I'm just going to rub it into the flour. So if you are a pastry maker, this would look familiar because it's kind of like you're making a pastry dough and you just rub the butter into the flour. Just use your fingers, lift and rub the butter into the flour until it is evenly distributed and you don't have those lumps. Okay? As you can see, no more lumps, evenly distributed. We're good to go to add the water. So I'm using some cold water to just make a little well in the center of these dry ingredients and then pour in your water a little at a time. You're going to be kneading the dough, but you're going to be gentle. Don't knead it as much as you would for a Caribbean style boiled dumpling, okay? Because you want the dumpling to be tender, nice and soft, okay? So mix that in, and then you're going to get a soft dough, but it doesn't have to be like sticky, all right? So the dough might not be super smooth because you don't want to knead it too much. Don't worry about that. You're going to cover it with a damp like tea towel or damp paper towel. You could even use cling wrap just to keep the air out. You're going to let the dough rest for at least 30 minutes to an hour. While that's resting, then we do the saltfish and baked beans. This might be, something that you've made, or maybe you've had frankfurters with beans. So I'm just cooking onion and a little piece of bell pepper in the oil. I didn't want to use up too much of my bell peppers, but that's a little piece. Then I'm adding some minced garlic. And you want to cook all of these until they are fragrant, not brown. And then the next thing I add is some tomato. So you can cut it smaller if you want to. I did some chunks of ripe tomatoes. You're going to add that in there and cook it in the oil over the same medium heat. Allow the tomatoes to break down a little bit and then add the saltfish. And the saltfish that I'll be adding to the pot, it's already flaked because it was boiled and deboned. So all I had to do was to flake it and add it right here. Of course, you want to add black pepper to this and cook that saltfish in the vegetables just to allow it to absorb the flavor from those veggies. Now you're going to go ahead and add baked beans. Use whatever brand you have. I just used what was in the pantry. And then just stir that in. Make sure you maintain your low to medium heat and allow this to simmer together. You want all the flavors to mesh together. So give that baked beans some time in the pot. Once it comes up to a simmer, I add some ketchup because this baked beans that I used, it didn't have a lot of tomato in there. And I'm adding some diced green onions or scallion. You could use scallion if you have that. And fresh thyme along with minced Scotch bonnet. So I have a little bit of Scotch bonnet. If you want it spicy, add more. If you want to add slices of Scotch bonnet, add that. Even whole, it doesn't matter, okay? Add what you like. Allow it to simmer. Simmer it for at least, 3 minutes, more or less. You just want all the flavors to come together. Remember, no salt is needed because the saltfish is already salty. So just add black pepper if you want to add more black pepper. And then for the dumpling, you're going to take that out and your dough is going to be nice and soft. The longer you rest the dough, the more relaxed it gets and it's soft and easy to work with. So all you need to do is cut this up into small pieces or pinch off pieces that you need, and then you just make those dumplings. Everyone has their own way of making fried dumplings, okay? But whenever I'm showing someone how to, get that dumpling shape, I usually just tell them fold it into itself or pinch, right? Or you could do both. So fold it into itself and keep pinching and turning until you get that ball. You can smooth it out even further by doing this, or you could roll it with your palm on a flat surface. Of course, the dumplings can be deep fried or shallow fried. You could fry it in less oil than this or more oil than this. It's really up to you, okay? And just fry them until they are golden brown and really light and crispy on the outside. Whenever I shallow fry, I try to do low to medium heat because I don't want it to be raw in the center, okay? If you use less oil than this, that's fine too. You could even put the lid on to get some steam in there if you want to. Now the dumplings are looking nice and light and fluffy. Remember, okay, this is not the traditional fried dumpling. So it does take a little more effort, but I love the result. That's why I do it this way every time. Look at how light and fluffy that is. That's how I like it. Serve everything together. I did, some little pieces of ripe plantain last minute and everything worked perfectly together. Is this one of your favorite breakfasts or is this too heavy for you? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.